nice waste of time, wasn't it? Straight out of the blocks they were. Interesting that there's no gap. Have a look at that in the tick. Righto, that one's good. And if you've just joined us, guys, and I'm not sure who is in, who isn't, because I can't see anything happening on YouTube at the moment for whatever reason. I think Angel's troubleshooting that as we speak. But here's what's happened to date. We attempted to place our order on the pound for the breakout trade, and as soon as the market opened, we were catapulted, let me see, down a very, very sharp waterfall in no time at all. It just went bang. Interesting. It gapped a little bit to the high side, according to that. Let me go to the minute chart. Not much, but yeah, tiny little bit. There's a tiny gap there, but in less than, the eye could blink. Hello. There we go. In less than the eye could blink, as soon as the market opened, it went down 10 pips. So that precluded us from taking the trade. And I have no idea why that would be the case. We may find out that as we go through the morning. But the fact of that being, and the reason I just cancelled it, well, I didn't place an order because we didn't have time, was that now I really don't know what's happening, why that's happened. And I don't really want to be in the situation where I'm going to place a limit order on the sell, or whether we're going to get taken into the buy and then straight back out. I'm not prepared to risk that anyway. So no trade there on the pound breakout today. Right, I was saying before we started, well, before we looked at the breakout trade, this is a massive week, a really, really big week. And it starts, of course, with everybody going on to bloody daylight saving. Well, the ending, they're all, yes, all coming off daylight saving in that quadrant, in Europe in particular, of course. So what does that mean? That's a great question. And I get completely bamboozled by what that means in the near term. And I'm not going to try and work it out now. It simply means, of course, that we have got different closing times of candles, etc., dependent on your broker, of course. And we've also got to work out different times of Ash getting out of bed or otherwise. It just has all of these silly repercussions, and I can never work it out in the first day, week, or sometimes even month. But let's see how we go. I'll ignore it for now and talk about today, where there's really nothing happening in terms of major events. But then it all begins, well, not so much on tomorrow, to be fair, either, but then it all gets into top gear as of Wednesday, when the first things we're looking at are CPI figures coming out of Australia. And that could be interesting for the Aussie, as the Aussie, I'm a bull the Aussie this week. We'll see how that pans out. You've got to remember, of course, that this is the week prior to the federal election, that they call the presidential election in the US of A. So that's going to be of some importance. Well, a lot of importance, primarily because, hang on, I've got a little bit of chat going on here. Okay, Angel's telling me we're live, so that's all good. I'm still not seeing anything on YouTube, but it could be me. Could well be me. Sorry, guys, for the disruption anyway. I am a little bit stop-start here as I try and consolidate what is actually going on. So not only on CPI figures out of Australia have we got on Wednesday, we've also got the Bank of Canada and their rate statements and associated monetary policy report. And of course, the press conference that follows that. Ditto the Bank of Japan on Thursday as they go through exactly the same process. And then we've got GDP figures coming out of the States. This is a super Thursday, mind you. And then the ECB press conference, of course, which will be very, very interesting, as it always is. And we'll hang in with bated breath on what Christine Lagarde's going to have to say about that. And then, of course, to top it up on Friday, we've got GDP figures coming out of Canada. Now, I'm guessing, well, I'm not guessing, I'm pontificating whether or not the US presidential elections is already a done deal as far as the market's concerned. I think that's not the case, to be honest. And if we go back in time, and I know history, is doomed to fail when it tries to repeat itself, but that's not the case, I don't believe. Here, we've got a few incredible things that line up, and I'll take you through that in a little bit when I've had a look at the charts, because we've got things like how many times we've had a one-term president in recent history. We've got things like Trump was, at long odds to win the election, even up to the final week of the election, even up to the day of the election. And we saw a market boomerang in a very, very short period of time once it became evident that Trump was indeed going to be elected president. I'm going to have a look at that on the dollar yen chart, just because I can. No particular reason. I just wanted to have a little bit of a look and see what kind of shape we can find in that, if any. But my point is going to be that there may well be traction in having a look at history and what occurs during a presidential election. My apologies for no camera today, guys, if you've just joined as well. I'm having all sorts of malfunctions. And I'll try and get that rectified for the US session, but I won't be working on it now. Just going back again, if you've just joined us, the pound breakout trade today would have been a corker by the look of it, but alas, I didn't get it in the market in time, and it just went. If you did, happy days, you'd be looking all right. I mean, you don't. If you've been here a while, you don't need me to tell you how this works anymore. I wouldn't have thought. You just use the high of the last 3 1-hour bars prior to London session as your buy entry, and you use the low of those last 3 bars as your sell entry. Now, your stop loss goes above the bar that you use for the short, and your stop loss goes below the bar that you use for the long. In this case, you would have been long above that bar and short above that bar, with your stop loss here and your short stop loss there. As I said, I didn't place the trade in time, and the market gave us absolutely no breathing space at all. It just went bang, and therefore we are not in that trade today. It looks like it might be a sad thing that we're not in that trade today, the way it's going at this point in time, and they just jumped straight out of the blocks. Now, management on this currently is that once you've determined your entry and your stop loss, I'll just go through this briefly because I was asked about it the other day. I'll just give you a very, very brief summary of what we are trying to achieve here. That is, of course, if I can find the pen. Where'd it go? There it is over there. Okay, so entry is, let's say, 130. Stop loss, this will be a buy order, is, let's say, 29. That is 1 point. Hang on, I'll erase that. So stop loss is 1.2920, 80. So 20 pips. And we therefore set a TP1 at 10 pips, which is half the difference between the entry and the stop loss. 10 pips, this is a buy order. Uh, 10 pips above our entry. So that will be at 1.3010. Now, at the same time as you take TP1, stop loss, move, TP1 distance, so which is 10 pips, right? So if you're taking 10 pips off at TP1, you need to move your stops 10 pips below entry. Ten pips. Don't write very well with the mouse, guys, sorry. Below entry. So in this case, that would be 1.2990. So just repeating, entry there, stop loss there. Forget the numbers; they're not exact. I'll just use round numbers, right? TP1's here. Move your stop same distance there to there. So stop loss moves exactly the same as TP1, meaning that if price then reverses on you and takes your stop loss, you are break even. And that's the exact strategy that I use on my 30-minute trades. No matter what, that's exactly how I play. So the worst thing that can happen if you get TP1 is you've got a break-even trade. You could trade it aggressively if you wanted and move your stops to entry at TP1 and take nothing off the table and use your TP2, wherever that may be, which is in our case, TP2 equals risk times 2, which in this case would be 40 pips. Or 1.3040. That's if we were buying. If we were selling, and it'd be nice if we were, it would, of course, be exactly the same in the other direction. TP1 would be half the risk. Once you've got TP1, move your stops, same amount of risk from entry, or above entry in this case, and TP2 would be double your risk. Righto, so that is how we're managing it at the moment. All right, from Alan, 5 more days. Is the Brexit deadline even earlier than the US election, or is there no good news on a deal? As far as I'm aware, Alan, there is no good news on a deal, but I haven't heard the latest, and I've been pretty much out of action since Thursday. So a lot could have happened in that time. I don't know whether the market on Friday was giving us a great indication that there was anything going on, because not a whole lot happened on pound US dollar. But they certainly come out of the blocks in the UK very, very swiftly. Okay, it's not a massive move. It's only about 10 pips, or maybe a bit more, about 20, 25 pips at the moment. So I don't know, mate, to be honest. If Ash was here, I'm sure he'd be all over that. But he's not available today. Maybe later in the day in the US session, he may be able to join us, but I'm not 100% sure on that either. So we're going to do a few little things today that may or may not get your brains clicking over in overtime. I'm not sure. We're going to have a look at what the US election may or may not mean to the US dollar yen. Is UK FTSE open yet? Daylight savings over. I'm confused, Crystal. So am I. I get completely confused. So I imagine that the answer to that is no, because they have gone backwards in time. So it would be 7 a.m. there at the moment. Well, let's check that, shall we? We have the technology. Let's do that. Where has my Forex Factory gone? Someone will know that, of course, without me looking, but let's just be sure. Go away, pen. Forex Factory, there we go. So UK time, 7:52 now. That can't be right. No. Or I'm still with daylight saving on, I think. Yeah, DST on, right. So we want DST off for London. DST off. So the time now is 7:18 a.m. So what that means is we've got 42 minutes before the FTSE does open. Okie doke. So don't be confused anymore. Problem solved. No, you didn't. Well, the only thing you missed is exactly the same thing we missed, which was, of course, the entry on pound US dollar, because it happened in the blink of an eye. And, well, as soon as the market opened, it just went bang, pretty much straight to where it is now, or about there somewhere. DS1, bang, gone. Now, again, that may be Brexit related. It may not. It may just mean that the market is in a selling mood. I don't know. I can't answer that question at this point. What I can say, and what I'd be probably very willing not to do this week, is concentrate too much on anything that has got a dollar in it. And the reason I say that is pretty much because the federal, keep calling it federal election, the presidential election, although some would say, and I would probably concur, that the market has priced in a Biden win at this point in time, I don't think it's that clear cut. But, you know, who am I? I'm just, this is guesswork, right? Speculation, pure speculation. And what I'm thinking is that there will be if not a last-ditch effort, certainly a last-ditch momentum, according to Trump, swing in his direction. So he'll be selling that all week, I would have thought, and maybe he'll entice some people to swing back in his direction. Maybe he can even win the damn thing. You'll recall back in 2016, around about this time, he was given no chance, absolutely no chance, by the markets, by the bookmakers, just about by everyone you spoke to. There were a few people saying that he would win. There's no question about that. Whether they were speculators or they knew something, I have no idea, and that's irrelevant. But at the end of the day, there was an absolute groundswell that said Hillary Clinton was a shoo-in. And there seems to be some similarities along those lines. I'm going to have a quick look at what I'm seeking to do this week, and then I'm going to come back and have a look at dollar yen and see if we can draw some parallels about not just 2016, but we'll have a little look at what's happened since 2000. So the 21st century might give us some little inkling as to which way this may go. Pound yen daily for a long. Okay, let's have a look at that SF, shall we? Pound yen. I should have a pound yen chart here somewhere. There you go. Pound yen daily for a long. Okay, what have I got on pound yen? I've got bottom of a range. Last time we were visiting the fences, I'll call them. So I'm on that. I'm with you. We had a break of a resistance trade line, which is not a trade line on this chart. It's more a 4-hour trade line, but we'll have a look at that anyway. Yeah, and that's a bit messy. So I'm going to get rid of that. I don't think that's relevant anymore. But what we clearly have had is a false break of the monthly pivot, the daily pivot, and the weekly pivot of last week. And now we've had another double or another pump or another attempt to try to get through the monthly pivot, and we failed again. And we've come back to last week's weekly pivot. Did I say last week there? I'm not sure what I said, to be honest. But there is another little structural pointer there, and that would be that trade line. So I think I'd be looking down here first before I chose to go long. I like the fact that we've pulled back away from here, so it does give us a nice insurance, but I'm not yet convinced that this is go zone. So what I'd like to see on the daily is at least come down to that trade line and get a bounce off it of some kind. So I'm looking for a false break here, I suppose, as I normally am. That's my MO really, but I totally get the context. The context is good. We are indeed bouncing off, or have bounced off, the bottom of the range. We've had a false break of the monthly pivot. We've formed a potential trade line with that low, and this is the only issue at the moment. Still can't get through the monthly pivot, so another attempt maybe. We shall see. Haven't got it yet for mine, so I'll be looking at it. Yes. Am I willing to trade it yet? No, not quite. 4-hour chart might be interesting though, if we have a good look at that. Again, you know, I'm always looking to trade long off support, and I'd be happy if this did form. You're kind of looking at, I was going to say an inverted head and shoulders, but nah, wrong, out of context for me. This is an inverted head and shoulders, probably down the bottom, and maybe this is a higher low based on that. Let's have a look at that. So left shoulder, head, right shoulder, neckline. Neckline has to be probably there-ish. It's not giving us much help, is it? It really isn't. But yeah, this is the buy zone here, I think, you know, DS1. So let's see if we can find a break here. It becomes false by getting back above the pivots daily and weekly, and then retest the confluence area. I know that's a long time away, but that looks to be the most likely form of way to trade this for mine. Pound is weak so far this morning by the look of things, and that's not a bad thing if you're looking to trade long. Don't get discouraged by that. It's just got to set up for you and away you can go. The last election was decided by about 500 votes in Florida. Yeah. Whether, and you'll note that he's been spending a bit of time in Florida for that reason, I would think. So yes, that's relevance. Pound Aussie Kiwi CAD long. Let's have a look at that, Crystal, in a tick. Very good weekend in the world's most important sport. Go the Storm and Richmond, the Tigers and the Storm, both bloody Melbourne teams. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? Yeah, Melbourne, amazing game. Amazing game. Did the best team win? Look, you've got to say, I mean, I won't spend any time on this, guys, because I know it's boring for all except Dennis and myself. But I feel sorry for the Panthers. I'll put it that way. You can't feel sorry for the Cats because they were outplayed. But the Panthers, I thought, just inexperience. That's all that cost them, I think. And a few rubs of the green as well. I'm not saying they were robbed by any stretch, but there were a few calls there that might have gone their way that didn't. I thought they were consider themselves a little bit unlucky. That's all I'll say on the matter. Pound Aussie Kiwi CAD long, and then I'll go through the ones that I'm looking at. Pound Aussie and Kiwi CAD. Let's have a look at Pound Aussie. If I can find him. Should be down here somewhere. Pound Aussie, there you go. On what chart are we thinking? Let me see. I'll have a look at the daily first. So what's the structure on Pound Aussie? Yeah, double-ish bottom. Still got that in play. Let me have a bigger look. Okay, I reckon that cycle's complete. So I reckon we're done with that. Pardon me, we're done with that. So this cycle here is the one I'm talking about. Perfect symmetry, well, almost perfect symmetry. Up, down, done, as far as I'm concerned. So this is no longer in play for me. The big tweezer top that we're seeing there, no longer in play. But gee whiz, that's a nice, if it was, that's a beautiful lower high, if we were thinking that way. Big rejection of that level. Is that a level? Yeah, it kind of is. Kind of is a resistance level anyway. I don't see too much support flowing through there, but certainly on the resistance side, that is a level. So do we want to speculate that this is a bounce and we're going back into this range? That's kind of where I'm thinking at the moment. So the daily chart gives us potential for a false breakthrough here. Not perfect, but not too dusty either. So I'm thinking rally, then sell. Crystal at this point on the daily chart. Let me have a look at the 4 hour. So the rally I'm thinking is not too far away. It's only to this pivot, really. Maybe a right shoulder. I'd hate the neckline if that were the case. It's a bit ugly, but I've got a big bearish engulfing bar. I'd be looking for a significant lower high in this vicinity. So I'm not of the opinion that I want to trade that long at the moment. I'll have a look at Kiwi CAD. Kiwi CAD. Find me Kiwi CAD. I think I had Kiwi CAD. I was looking at it, wasn't I? I'm talking to myself, by the way. There it is, yes. Okay, so Kiwi CAD. Let me get rid of all these lines, because I'll just confuse the issue. And we'll get rid of that as well. All right, so let's have a look at something a little bit more substantial than the daily chart, and that would be the weekly, of course. So immediate thought process is primary trend. Primary trend, we've just had a little bit of a sneak peek at a breakout again, which has proven to be false again. And it is a re-entry into this little range that I've got dotted here, which is a ascending channel, of course. And we've had a lower low and a lower high at the confluence area. I like the candle that you're looking at. That's interesting. Again, I'm not seeing a long crystal. I'm seeing the opposite. Maybe you're looking at this here, which I totally get with, which is a lovely little spinning top followed by a buying bar followed by a selling bar. Pardon me. I'm also seeing this trade line here. Yeah, I think we're in a logjam, mate. I think we've got excellent reason to think that this is a false break of the top of that channel, then a retest of that, which has rejected the level again. But now I see we've come back into this area above this trade line. So I'm thinking we're in bounce time here. I don't see a clear passage at all. Would I be looking to go long on the weekly chart? No, because the monthly pivot's dead ahead. And I think the same could be said about everything here. The one thing in your favor for the long, in my opinion, let me pick up that trade line. It's probably there. Is that false break number 2 back into here? So maybe break the monthly pivot or even test the monthly pivot, come back and give you a higher low. Then you've got reason, in my opinion, you would have a reason to think long. But where are you going? This is not clear to me. The only thing that's clear to me is that we're in a logjam situation. So I think I'd be leaving that one alone. I don't think that one's for me right now, I would have to say. Lovely drive, Helen. Absolutely. Gorgeous up in the north at the moment. We've had quite a bit of spring rain here. It's absolutely gorgeous. Green as Ireland. I long pound Kiwi based on flow this morning, straight go negative, ZZ, pound Kiwi. Pound Kiwi, we're looking to trade long. We are. I'll have a look at that in a tick, Alan. Won't be too long. Helen. Hi, Jeff. Been chasing that Euro Aussie. Yeah, me too. Is it going anywhere yet? That was the order, wasn't it? What happened with that? Didn't trigger, huh? As I don't know, I can't remember. When was that even? Where is that level? 1,667. How long ago? Ah, there. Okay. Now I remember. Oh, I got in and out of that. That's right. Trailing stop got hit. There's another decent candle. Just hang on a sec, guys. I'm getting messages from Ash, who of course is I thought somewhere else today. Just give me 2 secs. Of course, the reason for this show was so we could hit UK Open. So we may be changing this time. I'm starting to see the picture now. My apologies for this, guys. I've just got to get sorted. I told you it stuffs us up, daylight saving. Maybe this show starts in 24 minutes. Maybe that's the reason. And we have to reschedule it from a broadcast point of view. But just give me 2 ticks and I'll see if I can chat with Ash. Sorry, guys, if you've just joined and wondering what the heck's going on, Ash is trying to contact me and I'm trying to answer him back, but I'm having all sorts of troubles doing that. Okay, as I said, as I said, there's a mix-up here with timing, guys. And Euro Aussie, how do we get into it? Right. If you're not into it already, and I don't know, maybe some of you are still in it. Could be. Hope that's the case. And I'd be waiting for a lower high now, right? So price back to here, usual old stuff. There's nothing new here that I'm talking about. We would be looking, or I would be looking for this to come to a level, and I don't see a level, frankly. Maybe it has to be a pivot. Look at that, though. It's very, very strong in that rejection of that level, which is, of course, why we were looking for the trade. We thought that this would be a good opportunity. We're getting a little bit of a suck back at the moment, though. That's not a bad thing. 4-hour chart, that bar there, interesting. I'd rather play it this way, though, now. So we've got a couple of lower highs, we've got a couple of lower lows. I'd like to see price come back underneath the pivots and that confluence area, then go short. That's if you're not in already, that would be the way I'd be looking to go. So that is Euro US dollar. I'm now in a situation where I'm not seeing the questions. My God, what is going on here today? Weird. I'm just going to potentially have an issue if I reset that. There's nothing like live broadcasting, is there? All right, now I've got the messages back. I said yesterday to start later. Okay, I didn't. I wasn't in yesterday because of the football grand final. I was watching the footy grand final. Ash is coming in though. He does have a little bit of time spare. He'll be here in a tick. A lot of betting for the Greenbacks. Okay, I'm trying to catch up, guys. Sorry. Alan, long pound Kiwi based on flow. Okay, let's have a look at pound Kiwi because I'm very interested in pound Kiwi. Okay, you went long pound Kiwi after, I assume, on the daily chart. And flow, what's flow? Flow is overbought, oversold stuff, isn't it? No idea why you would enter there on flow, mate. No, I'm sorry, I'm not a flow well, I'm not a flow trader, so I really don't know what, apart from overbought and oversold, and I would have thought that this was in the oversold category. So maybe, yes, you'd probably be looking to buy that, but yeah, that doesn't work for me. So I'm not a,
Hi,
hello, buddy. How you going?
Do you know what? I thought I get really confused when the clocks go a certain way.
Yes,
I thought
me too.
This would have meant that we were starting an hour later rather than earlier.
Well, I think it should, shouldn't it, really? Because otherwise it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, the show needs to start now at 3:30. Sorry, 5 to 3. Yeah, you're saying. But in my head, I thought it was 5 to 4, and we had to move it back. So I don't know what happened. I'm not quite sure what's going on with my internal body clock. But do you know? I don't even know when the clocks change in this country. I thought it was next week.
Well, hang on a minute. What time is it now in Britain?
20 to 8.
But the market's open.
No, the UK isn't.
Isn't it?
No.
Okay. Awesome. Well, no wonder the breakout trade wasn't kind of working.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't actually trade it because it actually went so fast.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. Maybe, well, the European Open, of course, they open in Brussels, I think it is, an hour before the UK. So it moved very quickly.
Do you know what's interesting is that there's often movements 7 o'clock my time, often.
Yeah, because of that. Well, I believe because of that. Because I'm pretty sure it's Brussels opens an hour before UK. So I think that's what's happened there.
Yeah, I'm just checking the FTSE 100 and what's going on. Oh gosh, my charts are looking a bit weird. Yeah, I do see that my system's gone a bit odd, but yeah. So we aren't open here. I'm just checking Germany as well. We seem to be missing okay. No problem. I need to add something here.
All right, while you're doing that, I'll continue with Alan's answer. And mate, my thing here is definitely I want to trade it, and I want to trade it long. But as always, I would much prefer to trade long off support than resistance. And in this particular instance, it looks like we may even be offered that luxury, if it is to be that. But the other thing going with this, of course, is that we're now back inside a range and we haven't had a lower high. So I'd be more than happy if this just shoots straight down here and then comes back, gets back inside or above the trade line, and then retest that confluence area. I'll be looking for that regardless of whether we go to the bottom or otherwise. That will be my trade for sure. But I'd much prefer it to go back down to here and bounce off this support, then come up and retest that one and give us a long off the confluence area. So that would be me on pound Kiwi. What else have I got there? We've only got Ash for half an hour or so, guys. So I'll just, if I need to answer these questions, and then straight to Ash.
Well, actually, you got me for a bit longer now. Now I realise I didn't realise you were in. I didn't realise you were in at this time.
Neither did I, mate. I've been wondering what the heck's going on.
Yeah, I sent that message and I thought we were starting at 5 to 4. So I'll actually be in for another well, I mean, I suppose if this show is going to be an hour long, I'll be in for the rest of it. But I'll be in until I'll be in for another 45 minutes.
Well, we better have a look and see what the Open does. So we'll probably go to 1/4 or something like that.
No problem.
Alan's short on Kiwi CAD on flow. Okay. Kiwi CAD. It's Kiwi Yen. I'm a bear. I might even change that.
Yeah,
Kiwi CAD.
Got a couple of questions for you in a bit, mate, when we've done this. Okay, I'll have a look at Kiwi CAD as well.
Sure.
Short on Kiwi CAD.
So I assume Flow is thinking it's overbought here. I don't see that myself, I've got to say. Yeah, tough for me to be thinking short, I've got to say.
Yeah, Kiwi CAD, it looks to me like, I mean, it's the monthly chart, which I think is the interesting one. Because the monthly chart looks like we're kind of mid-range, but we have hit a higher low. And that would drive me to believe that we've probably still got a little bit of room to travel to the upside until we hit that upper trend line.
Yeah, I spoke about this earlier. Sorry, I've got the same scenario. I see us in a logjam, frankly. We've got pivots very close together. We're near the bottom of a support trend line. We're near the top of a resistance trend line. I have no confidence on this one at the moment. And that's what I said before. Sorry, you may be able to see something that I can't, mate, but that's where I'm at. Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm completely with you. I think it does look to me, as I say, that the monthly chart, it does look a bit of a log jam. But what I'm also seeing is that the daily could come back to your trend line. That would be the buy zone for me, but it would be a buy zone rather than a sell. So the daily would come back to that lower line, which would coincide quite nicely with that horizontal, the previous horizontal breakout area. And I would have thought that would be along at least to the. And actually, this is a really interesting one. It's almost like the what I was saying about the euro. This is the way I'm seeing this one, where we've got a daily head and shoulders pattern, a break of that pattern, and a retest, and another fall. But now the pattern looks like it's run its course. I suspect the measured move is probably done on that as well. Pattern looks like it's run its course, and now we're coming back up again. But it looks like we've broken through some levels there, and I would have thought that's going to go a bit higher.
Yeah, look, my analysis on it is that we've got a false break of resistance. We've got a retest of that resistance, and there's reason to think this can go short, but it's not from here, in my opinion. At the moment, it's, as I say, in a logjam, and I don't want to know about it. I'd next like to see price action break through here, then come back underneath it if I'm thinking short, and then retest the confluence area. Then I can trade, but I can't trade it at the moment.
No, agreed.
But yeah, I actually went through that before and completely slipped my mind. I must have read an old message.
I was also going to talk to you about the the CAD yen. No, is it the CAD yen? Yes, it was the CAD yen. Was it the CAD yen? No, it wasn't. It was the Euro CAD. It was the Euro CAD. Yes.
Oh, Euro CAD. Yeah. Where I've been chasing that. I think this will be my 9th or 10th attempt to trade this.
Yeah, do you know what what dawned on me actually yesterday, which I think is quite interesting, is that both of them really have a bit of an outside situation, which could really affect the price without any fundamentals being involved, because the euro's like kind of caught up in this Brexit scenario, and the CAD could be caught up in the election because of Biden seems to be very keen on doing away with oil. He's kind of come out and said how much he would like to go completely away from dirty fuels and fossil fuels.
Easy said, though, isn't it?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I was trying to sell. Oh, I'm so gutted. I missed that. I was trying to sell oil on Friday, and I did get into a trade, but it didn't quite do what I needed it to do, and I missed the second entry on that one. But that one was an absolute cracker, and it really has turned into a decent trade. And that's one that I would be encouraging everybody to stay in right now because because of what's going on with Biden. I think some of these fossil fuels and anything that's exposed to fossil fuels is really going to struggle. So, so I'm not surprised at all to see the price of oil dropping today, and subsequently, it means that we've got global equities also are in a bit of trouble as well today. I was saying yesterday that the one that I like the most is probably the Nasdaq for a short. The Nasdaq looks like a pretty good candidate to me for a short, and I think Biden might well go after some of these tech companies.
That's a big double top on Nasdaq from memory. Did you want to show us your charts?
Yeah, let's have a look. Let's have a look. FTSE, I think could be interesting because I said I could certainly make a case for the long with the FTSE, but it would be catching a falling knife to a degree. So you'd want to kind of be in and out. But let's have a look. This is oil, and the opportunity on oil was right on top of that pivot there. It didn't get much of not much of a sniff. Certainly not looking on this chart. But if you were to come down to the 15 or the 5, then you can see that there was just a little bit of a turnaround here. Looks like that kind of false breakout scenario that I know that you sometimes play, mate, where you can put your stops underneath there, your sell stops underneath there, and look at the run that's come subsequently from that. So I was watching oil. I was a little bit early, in truth. Where did I get in? I think I got. Oh, I know where I got in. I was getting in off the pivot. When we were at the weekly pivot last Friday, this here, I was doing that. But as soon as I saw that bar close above, I closed my position. But if I'd seen one more time frame, I'd have been into the race of this one because it does, it did look good to me, a sell in oil, but it's too late now. That one's gone, so there's no opportunity there. The euro pound, I think, is also an interesting one as we close in on this price up here.
Yeah, we're out of that one now. Small profit, but we're out of it.
That's good, mate. Yeah, I still think that the euro pound does come down to here. I think the common sense will ultimately prevail, and we do see some downside with the euro pound. So I'm looking for a short in this area, just off the trend line, 0.9123. Going to think about trying to get into that. I've obviously got to go out this morning, so I'm hoping that won't actually transpire this morning. The FTSE, another one that I quite like, and I quite like this for a long. I know it doesn't look like a long in it by any stretch of the imagination when you look at this chart, but I like the level along here for a potential. It would be, as I said, but it would be like trying to catch a falling knife at this stage. But I think we've had a small touch at this particular point already once, and it's somewhere in this area. So you'd have to wait for a turnaround. So you can stay completely safe with this. It's not like it wouldn't be a case of just buying into the price, because the price that I ultimately want with the FTSE is the lower end of the pattern, which is just a bit lower down here. So it's another 150 pips. So potentially another 3% drop in the FTSE before I'm really comfortable picking this one up. But I quite like this the chance for us to get down to that lower line. And if you draw a horizontal level along there as well and switch to a weekly chart, then what we see sorry, is these lows here where it held and it held and it held. So it's not ultimately that clean, but I think if we can come down into this area, that's the point that I will be buying in. 56.50 is my target to buy in with the FTSE. So if I don't get a setup around this area to the upside on a shorter term time frame, then I'm going to look for it at 56.50. When it comes down to the Nasdaq, I think this one is the one that's going to suffer. And if I could get into a short on the NASDAQ, which doesn't look like we've got the setup quite yet. The weekly pivot looks like the obvious candidate, but let's just draw some lines on this and see what might happen. Yeah, I mean, according to this, the daily pivot looks like the obvious candidate. I think a break to the weekly pivot actually might well suppress the downside to a degree, but a false break would be the best. A false break to the weekly pivot and then coming back under the level, that would look pretty attractive. The monthly pivot is obviously going to be the biggest issue, and that may be enough, just to hold this in this particular zone here. So maybe a 1.5% move to the downside from the daily pivot. The weekly pivot looks a bit better. Possibly even this horizontal level would be the sweet spot, but that's going to need to be backed up, and that would suggest that it's probably not this week. No, it's not tidy, is it? How far is between these two? 24 pips, not too far. So the 38% retracement does kind of put us back into this area here. So 17, around about 17, maybe 11,800 would be the sweet area for the Nasdaq. Somewhere in that area, but it's probably the area that looks like the best point to go short. Until we get to that point, we'd be probably in a little bit too much risk. But I like the Nasdaq for a short. I think Biden's going to go after the tech companies. I think that the FTSE is relatively inexpensive, and I'll talk about that in the later show if I'm back in time. Which is it likely?
So you've got Biden winning, mate. No chance for Trumpy.
Oh, definitely. Well, you can never write him off. I would certainly not be brave enough to say that Biden's going to win, but I think it is going to be. I think it's going to be tougher for Trump this time. I mean, there's a few things that I think that Trump has got in his favor, and the first thing is that he's the incumbent, so people know him, but people do know Biden because of the Obama administration. I don't think Trump's insults have stuck quite in the same way this time. So I do think that will probably benefit Joe Biden, and also I don't think that he's necessarily kind of covered himself with glory with the coronavirus, either the situation with the coronavirus. So, and when it comes down to what happened last time, he didn't win the popular vote. This is the thing. So it's going to be down to some of those swing states, and I think there'd probably be enough there for Biden to win it. So yeah, I have got a Trump win personally, but
no, you got a Biden.
Sorry, a Biden win. Yes, I've got a Biden win. But regardless,
there's only been one president, I think. I did go through this earlier. I think there's only been one president who didn't get a second term since the turn of the century.
Oh.
In fact, I went back to Reagan in 1980.
Yeah.
That may even be the case since 1980. Yeah, that's a fair while.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I suppose the other thing is that we all know about the S&P barometer as well. When the S&P does well going into the election year, then the incumbent tends to win. So yeah, there's a few statistics that would suggest a Trump win. And as I say, I certainly would not be. It's not something that I would bet on. I wouldn't bet on a Biden win. But I think what my suggestion would be, and that's only one thing, mate. I think we need Biden. I was having a conversation over Christmas with.
Mate, can I just get you to hold that for 2 seconds?
Yeah. Yep.
Guys, we do have a breakout trade, so let's just share that, and I'll come straight back to you, mate.
Yeah, no problem.
The buy order is exactly the same as it was an hour ago. An hour ago, when we traded the wrong. Well, we tried to trade, but we didn't. So it is at 1.3030 with a stop loss at 1.3020. TP1 is at 1.3035. So very quick. And TP2 is at 1.3050. The sell order is short at 1.2992. The stop loss is, stop loss is, let me get this right. Oh, you goose. 130.23. That, so TP1 should be the stop loss. Let me fix that. 1.30.23 is the stop loss, not TP1. Get rid of that and put it there. TP1 will be 29.92. That's 23 plus 8, 31 pips of stop loss. So 15 below there, 1.2977. I've got 1.2077. Let's change that. 1.2977. And TP2 will be 62 pips. So it'll be 29.30. 1.29930. There we go. Righto, so we do have an order for the pound breakout. Let me just fix that up as well. And we are good to go. Righto, mate. Sorry about that. Straight back to you.
Yeah. All I was saying is, mate, I think we needed a Biden win. You know, I was over Christmas, I was talking to a friend of mine saying that I think Trump might be necessary because of the dangers that the world has got. And I think Trump does probably, and I think he did make a good point in his debate with Joe Biden the other day. Joe Biden kind of berated him a bit for pallying up with North Korea, but he made a good point. It was like, well, hold on a minute. When I was handed the White House, Obama said to me, the biggest threat that we've got is North Korea. So surely it's better to be on the right side of some of these dangers rather than continuing to look for conflict, because there's a nuclear war in the offing if you don't bridge that gap.
Yeah, we're trying to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that they over Christmas I was saying maybe we still need him to kind of like to encourage a bit more rebalancing, that maybe we've gone a bit too far in one direction, so we need to rebalance. But now I think we need Biden, because I think the biggest threat we've got over the next 10 years is the environmental threat, and Biden does seem to be going at that pretty hard. He looks like he appears to be the man.
Yes, if that was the election vote, then certainly Trump would certainly not win that.
Yes, and it might be, it might be. So it might come down to that. So
what do you think it's going to do to the market this week? That, more importantly, I suppose.
Well,
it doesn't really matter what we think. What do we think?
No. This is why I don't. It doesn't. Who I think will win. It doesn't really have too much relevance to me when it comes down to trading. I think there's enough concern of a potential Biden win to push oil down and potentially the CAD down and the Nasdaq down. So they're the kind of things that I was focused on, and I was focused on that since last Friday. And unfortunately, I missed oil, and I'm really, really annoyed about that, because it's turned out to be a beautiful move with oil. Really good. I was in this area was the entry, and it's already up 4%. It's already up 4 times risk on the trade. So I'm really gutted about that, and I think the reason I'm more annoyed with it is because I think this comes down a long way. And I think oil is going to suffer over the course of the next couple of weeks, just because of the potential for a Biden win. And then if he did win, then who knows how low oil goes, But that ultimate target of $36 a barrel on oil would have effectively brought in a what does it look like? It's about 50 to the upside. Yeah.
I think we're still on my chart too, mate.
Oh, sorry, buddy. Well, it's effectively a 7 to 1, 8 or 9 to 1 on oil. It would have been entry up at this other weekly pivot and around about a 50 pip stop loss, and you're aiming all the way down here. So you're almost looking at a 10-to-1 trade there. And even if you took half off somewhere, you're looking at a 5-to-1 plus the other half. So it was a great trade if I could have just nailed it, but I missed my timing, and that's gone now. But I do think that the potential for Biden to get in pushes oil lower, pushes fossil fuels lower. Anything that is fossil fuel related, I think that struggles. And for this reason, I'm looking for renewable energy stocks. I think the renewable energy stock situation could be really interesting. So I'm looking for renewable energy stocks. So ITM is one of them, creating hydrogen power. So I like those guys. But I think the CAD could also potentially suffer off the back of that. And really, with the CAD, I think the way that I'd want to play it would be: are we likely to go into a kind of fear scenario or an expansive scenario? Now, with a Biden win, I think we go into possibly a little bit of fear. So I would suggest that most things against the CAD. Most things long against the CAD would be pretty good. Now, you wouldn't be able to hedge the risk out against the CAD, but what you could certainly do is hedge out the risk of whether you're risk on, risk off. Because if there was a Canadian dollar weakness, then you could look at risk off, check out the Swissy. I'm not keen on the yen for risk off, because I think the Japanese economy is atrocious. It surprises me that people go there for.
It's funny you should say that. I think you and I were speaking about this about 12 months ago, saying that the flight to safety is maybe changing a little bit. Maybe the yen is not the thing it used to be, the safe haven that it used to be. And that's the theme you're going on, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So I'd go with a CAD. So I'd go CAD Swiss short, and then the obvious expansive one would be the Aussie. But they might be a little bit too closely correlated when it comes down to dirty commodities. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it would be an option. Aussie CAD long, or what might be better, might be maybe a Euro CAD long might be better than that as a potential scenario. So I'd be short the CAD either way, and the way you could hedge out whether it's going to be a fear or expansive is pick a fear currency and pick an expansive currency, split the risk in two effectively. So if you were going to go 0.5% risk on a CAD trade, then do 0.25% on two different currencies against the CAD, and then you're hedging out the risk of whether we're fear or confidence.
But you may just have solved the riddle for me, and there's a little bit of a pun in here. The Batman mask has not formed.
Yep.
And maybe that's just the reason why. On Euro.
Are we talking about the Euro CAD?
Yeah.
Are you long or short this?
I'm nothing at the moment, but
okay.
I've been short 8 or 9 times, I think.
Yeah.
And we just keep picking up a little bit, but then getting knocked over on our trailing stops.
Yeah.
So that's may just have you've just given me another thought process there, mate. Thank you.
No problem. Well, because of the potential Biden issue.
Yeah. Mind you, if Trump wins, then
yes,
then I'm Eurocad short very quickly.
Yeah, and that would be the problem, and that's the thing that you couldn't hedge out. You couldn't hedge out the opposite way, but what you could do is trade it up until the election. I think that the chance that we get a Biden win is probably quite high, and the fear that happens for some of these commodity stocks is probably quite high. So that's the reason that I would suggest that a CAD short for right now is probably on. I think the CAD short is probably on the table, so I'd be quite comfortable with going with that. The FTSE 100 has opened up, and it looks like it's an interesting looking first 15-minute bar actually right now. Very, very strong, very, very strong. It is on resistance, so it doesn't mean that's going to be the order of the day. But unusually for me, I'd be looking at a potentially FTSE long and Nasdaq short. So if there was equity stocks that I'd be shorting, it'd be the Nasdaq. And if there was equity stocks, I'd be going long on it. It would be the FTSE. The issue for the FTSE is definitely Brexit. When that whole thing calms down, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the FTSE 100 catch up to all those other big global equities, because it is not by any stretch in the right place. If we look at the FTSE on a daily chart, actually no, let's look at it on a weekly. It's gone nowhere. In fact, it's popped up a little bit, but it's closer to the lows than it is the highs right now. Maybe only just, but well, it's almost 200 up, and it's around about. In fact, yeah, it's much closer to the lows than it is the highs. But you look at the S&P, completely different. The S&P is actually taken out the record highs that we'd hit just before the pandemic, and you could go down the list with the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq aside, the DAX, and less so the CAC on. But even the CAC on is probably closer to the upside percentage-wise than the FTSE is. It's almost 50% home, but the FTSE just hasn't gone anywhere. And I don't think that's because the FTSE 100 is a bad index. I just think that Brexit really is holding this one back. And it's making it very difficult for traders to make a decision. But I think when Brexit is cleared up, I think this goes high, and it goes high pretty fast. If there is
and have you got a time frame on that for me, please? I mean, I know I asked you this 5 years ago, but
what, for the FTSE to go higher?
No, for the Brexit.
Oh, Brexit. Well, it's got to be. This week will help. By this week we should know a little bit more. But really, I don't think we can realistically know what's absolutely going to happen until the start of next year. I think we have to say, look, that's the date on paper. That's the contractual date that the UK leave the EU, is on the 31st of December 2020. So by the 1st of, or is it the 31st of January 2021? But I'm pretty sure it's the end of this year. So by the 1st of the start of next year, at some point, we will know what the fate of the UK and the EU's trade is going to be. So yeah, that's what I'd be looking at, mate. I'll be looking at trading. I'll be looking at trading the FTSE into that position. I wouldn't want to kind of get in too late. But the FTSE will do. I think the FTSE would do well either way, because if we leave the EU without a deal, the pound will weaken. The FTSE does well, but just down to the currency kind of differential. If we leave the EU with a deal, the FTSE does well, because trade and everything else that should be safe will be back on the table, and it'll be okay again. So either way, I think the FTSE is a decent indice to be looking for here. I think it's good value.
I think you guys have got big reports this week, haven't you? Isn't Apple, Amazon, Facebook, those type of things, aren't they all reporting this week?
Quite possibly, actually. No, you might be right, mate. I have not seen that.
I was reading something somewhere, and don't ask me where, but I think I read that somewhere. Not that I ever take any notice of it, but it just stood out
and do you know what?
As potentially a big game changer.
Yeah, well, I hope that that I am back in time for the US show, because I've got something to share, to do with Apple and the Nasdaq later on. I haven't got time now because we do need to look for a little bit of data, but I've got something to share with everybody on that, and I think it might swing people's mind in the belief that the Nasdaq might well be under pressure here. So
if those three come in less than desirable, you would think that will change things. Yes.
Yeah, undoubtedly, mate, and I think whether they do or not, I don't know, but I can certainly bring some. I can certainly shed a little bit of light on why I think the Nasdaq could be in a bit of trouble here.
Cool. Are you done, mate?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I am looking for potentially for some FTSE longs. I think that bar that we've had this morning does express to me that we're not in too bad shape when it comes down to the FTSE holding up. So I might try and get into this at 58.22. Might put a little entry in at 58.22 and see if I get taken in. If not, then It may be a little bit later on, but yeah, looks pretty good at the minute. Looks pretty good. I can tell you right now that the FTSE 100, when it comes down to market breadth, is not anywhere near as good. My goodness me, that can't be right. Now this is telling me that the FTSE 100, when it comes down to market breadth, there's only 30% of stocks in positive territory from the close on Friday, which is unusual. There must be some pretty... you know what? There's something not right here, mate. So I'm going to avoid
Yeah,
the
those
FTSE today.
30% are very strong, obviously, if that's the case.
No, they're not suggesting that they are actually. Now, what I haven't done is seen it from the open. So let me just double check something here. Right, let me just check one more thing. Price from the open. Is that right? Okay, that does shed a little bit of a different. Yeah, okay. Actually, from the open, we got 98% of stocks in positive territory. Interestingly, from Friday's close, there's not that many up there, so that suggests that we've had a big gap down this morning in a lot of stocks, but they've recovered a little bit from the open. Yeah, so take that, take with that what you will. I don't particularly like going from the opening price because a stock can just gap to the downside, and this is what's happened. So if we get a stock and the stock on Friday ended up closing there, let's say. Stock on Friday is ended up closing there. Now on Monday, what's happened is the stock has gapped down, opened here, and it's around about there. So it's below the close, but it is above its open. So if you look at the percentage change on the open, I've got 97% of stocks that have basically gapped to the downside and they've surged to the upside. But none of them are above Friday's, or very few of them are above Friday's close. Actually, 70% of them are still below Friday's close. So I don't really like it when I see how stocks are doing from the open, because they could gap down almost to zero and be a little bit higher, and you get the impression that things are going well. But the question is, why have you got this huge gap to the downside? But looks like that gap will probably be filled at some point today. So FTSE doesn't look too bad, certainly for this first session. After that, I'd certainly want to see actually some improvements on Friday's close if I was going to have a bit more confidence in buying it. But it looks good for a continued surge to the upside. Now, I'm not sure why that gap has occurred this morning, but we do have one.
Okay, cool. So I can tell you that, and you guys would have seen this in Telegram if you're into Telegram, that tomorrow the UK session will begin at 5 to 4.
5 to 4 thing, yeah.
Singapore time, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And my apologies to myself more than anybody else for starting now. Well, I didn't know, did I? Nobody tells me these things. When I have the weekend off, which I did, well, not from Bamboo, but I had the weekend off completely from trading. And I don't see the charts till 5 minutes before I open. That tends to be what happens.
Yeah, I feel a little bit responsible for that, mate. Living in the country where the time zone changed, but I was as in the dark as you in a way. I honestly thought it was next week.
Yeah, well, look, I don't think any harm's been done, mate. At the end of the day, I'm sure we'll live to fight another day. I'm going to quickly go through the currency pairs that I'm looking at. And euro yen was a question, and I'll have a look at that right now. And then we will call it quits for the day and have an hour from UK Open tomorrow. Let's do it that way. Right. So Euro Yen, and Euro Yen, I was a bear when we started this week, and nothing's changed. I did have a look at this when I prepared. I did a few charts for the Sunday show yesterday, but it was very, very rushed, I've got to say. And this wasn't one of them, but it should have been one of them. I'm just a little bit confused at the moment by the proximity to everything that price is. And what I mean by everything is exactly the same as EuroCAD, actually. Kiwi CAD, which was the chart that we had to look at twice now. We've got the pivots very, very close proximity, and now just switching to bearishness, if I can put it that way. And what I mean by that is the daily has slipped underneath the weekly, which has slipped below, slip in between the daily and the monthly, which means that they are in sequential order. Does that mean anything to this chart? No. What does mean something to this chart for me is we've got a test of the top of what really has formed the top of the range, and we've bounced back off it, and now trying to sort ourselves out in the pivot area. I would love to see this break. And that trade line now is defunct. It can't be kept because it's been broken twice. I'd love to see, however, something form in there, like a 4-hour trade line or something of that nature. But I would certainly accept if we got a lower high in that vicinity, because we've come off the top, we haven't been to the bottom, and a lower high in here would interest me. That one there would have been interesting had it been sitting up here as well, but that's not the case. So we'll wait for that to happen. And if we can get maybe a break above the monthly pivot and a close just below it, that would be pretty much ideal. We'd want to be taking profit before these levels. That's the only catch. But Euro Yen, I am still bearish. Could I think that we're going to the top before we go to the bottom? Yeah, look, absolutely. This could happen. We're in no man's land right now, which makes it very, very difficult to trade. But you see that horizontal level there that I'm looking at, and I'll go a bit wider for that. You can see it's got good history. It's strong resistance through here, support through here, resistance here, and we're bang on it right now. So there's no reason to think that this won't produce something. I believe it will. Which way is, and my bias is short, but I think anything could happen right now, including nothing, and probably nothing. I think we're probably stuck here for a little bit, and that's going to be maybe dependent on what happens with, and we've got, don't forget, 3 central banks meeting this week. We've got, I think it's the Euro, the CAD and the Yen, I think it is. CAD and the Yen. I might be wrong on that one. Certainly the Bank of Japan and the ECB, and I think it's the BOC as well. Could be wrong on that one. But this is looking very much like, if you go to another form of longer, stronger type scenarios, I don't see anything there on the monthly chart, to be fair, except that we're at that level. But the weekly chart is definitely showing me a double bottom. Is it in the right context, and is it over? And I think that may be a good question, because if I draw a line of symmetry through there, what are we thinking? Are we thinking back to here? Maybe. So we've come from here, gone, or phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, turn around, phase 1, phase 2, maybe phase 3 is coming. Maybe I've got this all wrong. But that's kind of where I am anyway. I don't know what's happening next because we're at this line and we're not doing anything. So yeah, I'll be watching that with interest to see if we can get a good read on it. But this could now well break either way. Yeah, I'm not the same person I was on Sunday or yesterday. And I think that's the same with EuroCAD now that you've given me that little lesson as well, Ash. In fact, both of these now, if I look at EuroCAD now, and my penchant was always, as always, is to get a break to the high side, then come back underneath the confluence area and retest it, then go short. I definitely see the possibility for this to break clear of here and have another look at that high at the very least. But, you know, technically I can't get away from this big double top, and it's still screaming at me, as is the lower high. Gee whiz, lower low, lower high, lower low. I think I'm still in if I get the opportunity. You know, I'll have to ignore what I'm hearing and go with what I see. So if we do break out of here and come back underneath that area, I'll still be looking to trade that short. But I now see the distinct possibility, if there is indeed going to be a Biden win, for this to go in the opposite direction. And that's going to be fundamentally driven, not technically, obviously. So I will definitely still be looking on the technical side of things. And if in 9 days' time we actually do have a Trump win, then if the market's still here, then I think that would certainly go with what I'm thinking from a technical point of view. So that's, yeah, it's kind of there. I'm talking myself out of trading, I think, but if the setups are going to be there, I'm going to trade them. I've just got a little bit of a question mark on everything now. Now, Aussie dollar, we bought this. That may not have been in a show, actually. I think I traded this on Friday. Yes, I did trade this on Friday and got into the market.
Sorry, mate, just before you get cracking with that, I need to shoot. So I'll see you in the morning.
Tally ho. I'll see you at the right time in the morning. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Hooroo. Okay, so on the Aussie, here's the thing with the Aussie. I've got this. And that's kind of pointing me skyward. I've also got this. And you may say this is non-contextual, and I'd have to not stand and fight you against that, because it really isn't that contextual, but it is a clear double bottom. I'd like to see it down here. That's the only thing, because we've just come off a rally. Okay, we've had a retracement, but yeah, it's not contextually perfect as far as I'm concerned. That's not where I want to see double bottoms. That said, it is a double pump of that level, which is this level here, which has got history, certainly over here. But if we go even a little bit wider, hang on, I'll get rid of that one so it doesn't confuse us. If we go a little bit wider, you can see that this is not just a level, this is a bloody strong level. And it's held the market up, you know, ever since, 2 years ago? Yes, for 2 years, this has been pretty much let's call it par for the course, because above it, we hold, below it, we hold, and we're back there again. So I've got to be thinking, technically, I've got to be a bull. And I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be the case from a technical standpoint. This is a massive false break. There's no question about that, of that level. That's what, a year and a half old or something, but it is there. The monthly chart is showing me a clear break and retest of a major trade line, and probably a trend line, almost a trend line. So I can't think anything but long here until this level is taken out. Now, if it were to be taken out and we got a retest of that area, then I'm a massive bear. But until that's the case, I'm definitely got to be thinking that we're going long here on the Aussie. Now, how we get into that, of course, is problematic at the moment, because we don't have any lines to play with. Maybe, well, actually, that's not true. There is a trade line coming through here. So that may be what we're looking for. You got to close under here couple of candles, back above it, above the daily pivot, retest, and away we go. Now that's not going to happen today on the scheme of things, but it may happen on an hourly chart or a 30-minute chart. So keep your eye on that. That's what I'll be looking for. And this is a very awkward neckline, but if that were to break and retest, then wow, there's a scaling point for you for sure. All right, we have gone a long time today, although it's only just into UK session. As I say, time changes tomorrow. We haven't been taken into that, I don't think. No. So no entry on pound US dollar breakout trade, but perhaps we may get one long, who knows. But if we do, don't forget you've got a very, very quick TP1 at +5 pips. Righto, guys, I'm going to leave you there. And thank you for your company. Sorry about the mix-up earlier, and sorry about the time confusion, which is mainly on my behalf. We will definitely be on air 5 minutes before UK session opens tomorrow, which, of course, is now 5 minutes to 4 Singapore time. Righto, guys. Thank you, Alan, and thank you all. And we will catch you tomorrow at 5 to 4 Singapore and Hong Kong. Have a great rest of the day. I of course, will be back with the US session, which starts at the very same time, which is, of course, what time? 11:30, 8:30 p.m. Singapore at the moment. I hope that stays the same. Have a good one, guys. We'll catch you a little bit later on. Bye-bye.